Do something, man. People are questioning you.
Shut up. Okay, yep, do that. Sure, guys. Stupid and dumb. Just an idiot. Get your shit together, son. Fuck it. I loved it. Welcome to the DubCast. In today's episode, I will be covering the movie All the President's Men, giving my reaction and review. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So All the President's Men, released April 7th, 1976. The genre is a biographical political drama thriller. Runtime 2 hours, 18 minutes, had a budget of $8.5 million, which is a lot for the time. Director was Alan J. Pakula, and it stars Dustin Hoffman, Robert Redford, Jack Warden, Martin Balsam, Hal Holbrook, Jason Robards. So before we get into the non-spoiler review, I heard your guys' complaints. I didn't want to review this movie, but unfortunately corporate is making me review this movie, so here we go. Okay, so non-spoiler review, what this movie's about. Brief, as always, I'll give my brief plot synopsis before I get into the spoilers and my reactions to every part of the movie, so here we go. Okay, so starting off the movie, we see the original quote-unquote action of Watergate, where these guys break into the office to steal documents for Richard Nixon. So we follow the story of a young reporter named Bob Woodward as he begins to investigate these break-ins a little bit deeper and all the surrounding parts to it a little bit deeper. Another young reporter, Carl Bernstein, joins the case with him, and together they try to figure this whole thing out. So Bob Woodward has this source in Washington named Deep Throat, and he starts to tell him that there's more going on here, and you got to start figuring out. I can't tell you what the pieces are, but you got to put them together yourself. And I think we have 3 Deep Throat appearances throughout the movie, and every time, well, I won't spoil. Okay. And basically, yeah, Woodward and Bernstein just try to peel back layers of this onion, try and figure out what's going on with the Watergate. Is there more to it? Who's involved and to what level? And then, of course, they are like these 2 young reporters in 1970 who their bosses are just like, nah, we're not doing this. This is going to like ruin our paper. And so, yeah, they have opposition from their bosses. And so there's points where the case looks not good. Okay, so my overall review of this movie before I get into the spoilers. I thought the plot of this movie was somewhat interesting to me as someone who didn't really know a lot about Watergate. I learned about it in high school history, but not like this specific part of the guy writing the story. So I guess that was an interesting lens to look through the writers. And I always like learning more about history, so being able to connect dots there and learn about the people behind Watergate, what was happening, all that, blah, blah, blah. Thought it was decently interesting. Just in movie form, I'm not really sure that this is the setting for it. Just didn't really jump off the screen to me. The pace was super slow, and you can definitely tell that this movie was made in 1976. Some of the shots to me were really weird. It seems like we get a lot of shots of them typing on the typewriter or just walking or like just doing nothing, basically. Like there's literally probably like 20 minutes of filler in this movie of them just like doing things that we don't need to see on the film. The ending I didn't really like either. I thought it wasn't great. It wasn't a great way to wrap the story, personally. I didn't mind the characters. I didn't love them, but I just thought the movie was too slow and not completely engaging for me personally. I thought there were parts, but really just wasn't grabbing me and making me want to continue watching, even though I finished it because whatever. So the highlight of the movie for me were the scenes with Deep Throat. I thought that was really cool. They like meet in this garage, and you can like barely see the guy's face, and he's like this high up figure in Washington, and so that was the highlight of the movie for me, just because we don't really see stuff like that in the modern day. especially, but just in movies in general. So yeah, my just not my type of movie overall. I did give this, so for my score, I gave this a 5.2, which comes in fourth of the 5 movies ranked, above Hard 8 and below 28 Days Later. So DubCast milestone, we were at 5 movies reviewed after this movie. Okay, so yeah, that was my overarching review without spoilers. So if you haven't watched this movie and what I just said interests you and you want to come back, now's the time. Okay, so let's get into the spoilers. So basically, they're able to find a bunch of employees of a slush fund, which is ironically called Creep. I thought that was just stupid. I don't know if that's real. Probably is real. Why would you name your thing Creep? Okay, maybe it doesn't mean anything in 1976. Okay, they realize the illegal money goes all the way up to Nixon's lawyer, who's like his third in command, basically. And then Woodward is told by Deep Throat he has to fear for his life, and then he runs in the street once, but nothing even happens to him after that. Basically, Deep Throat at the end, Woodward just presses him, and he's like, "All right, here's your guy, HR, hauled him in," and we never even see Nixon in the movie portrayed or Haldeman or any of these people. It's just they're just talked about until they bring in scenes of them being flash forwarded and whatever. So basically the end is the story prints, and then there's a montage of headlines that lead to Nixon's resignation. I thought this was underwhelming, but I'll get into that. Okay, so let's get into my thoughts and reactions. So first, the opening of the movie is this blurry ass tape of Nixon. Thought it was a decently compelling start to the movie for 1976. So in the office scene, you got these people. They get caught. Well, they get caught eventually, but so they're all in this one room, and then this guy's they're coming, and they just hide behind the desk. Bro, you're in this 12-story building. Run somewhere. Try something. They're just in the same room. I hope this wasn't the actual case of the Watergate people, because Richard Nixon's guys, run, do something, run, jump out a window, try and escape, run down the fire escape. It's a 12-story building. This is imagine being in a cruise, and you're just someone's I'm gonna go try and find you, and you just hide in the same room. What? Run, guys. There's 2 guys looking for you. That was my first problem. So then we go to this court scene where they're describing all of the jobs of the people, and one of them is an anti-communist. That's how he describes his job, and I want that job. What do you do as an anti-communist? You just go around and make sure people aren't being communist? Okay. Thought that job sounded fun. I need a job right now, so maybe I should start looking for that on LinkedIn. This freaking Bernstein guy just has complete riz. Basically, he just goes into people's buildings, and I'll get into this later, but he just swindles people into giving them information, basically. So that was funny. They a lot of searching, cold calls, and typing. We have these 5-minute long phone calls where people just end up not saying anything. I guess you're supposed to understand the effects of an ineffective research or whatever. I don't know. It just was boring in that aspect. I just didn't really like the inaction in this movie. So yeah, I thought the first conversation with Deep Throat was cool. As I mentioned before, my favorite part of the movie. Again, I noted a lot of time just absolutely doing nothing in this movie, just moving the plot along and building up the runtime for no reason. Then we get this scene of the boss of the newspaper. He's just shooting the shit with the higher ups. Sounded like a fun conversation, but what does this have to do with our story? They literally don't even talk about the Watergate thing. I guess it's supposed to be a newspaper cultural thing. We get it in every movie. This is a classic trope. It's just a bunch of old white guys who sit around in a thing and shoot the shit, and they don't care about any other race or any other gender or any other people younger than them. It's just old white people who they respect. We get it. Didn't need to be a scene in this movie. So yeah, we get to the middle of the movie where they can't find anything, and it's all right, we get it. They just can't find anything. I feel this is a little over the top. We get it. You're calling people and trying to go to houses, and you're just not finding anything. Move on. Let's get some action here. We don't need 45 minutes of them trying to find stuff. I get it's hard to be a reporter, and it's hard to find dirt on the White House. Got it. So here's a little tip for you guys, DubCast tip. If you ever need information from somebody and they're not legally allowed to give it to you, just walk into their house and sit down on the couch and just wait. And then they'll eventually tell you everything. This is what Bernstein does, and it works for him. So I'm telling you, this is the strategy, guys. Just walk in. Don't even, just invite yourself in, sit down, ask for a cigarette, and just sit there. And then eventually your person of interest will start just telling you everything. So this was a really good strategy by Bernstein. So another thing I noted is the scenes in the dark. You can barely see anything, which comes up later when they're fearing for their life. And this guy, like, you see a flash of nothing basically, and Woodward's like running away, like, okay, got it. You couldn't see anything, 1976, whatever. My boy Bernstein is a fiend for cigs. I think there's probably more time he has a cigarette in his hand in this movie than he doesn't. Just noted that. So they love barging into places, as I mentioned before. Just walk right in. This is 1976. You can do whatever you want. Got it. News reporters can just do whatever. And yeah, so at the ending, just thought it was underwhelming. Thought we could have had like a celebration of Woodward, who I think's either celebrated or controversial now. I didn't really bother to look up information after this movie, but maybe we could see him win like a Pulitzer Prize or whatever it's called. I don't know. This is a pretty big story. We just see the headlines and like 10 headlines of newspapers. Okay, cool. Got it. Alright, so yeah, that was my review and reaction to All the President's Men. As you can tell probably by my tone, not my favorite movie. Wasn't really enthralled or enthused by it, but I did watch it, so use this as a point to either not watch this movie or watch it and then tell me that this is the best movie of all time and I suck at reviewing things. I don't care. I did not really appreciate this movie fully, so that's going to wrap it here. Next, this is going to drop in a double episode with Survivor. Next couple episodes, we got McGregor Forever review is coming this weekend, and then after that, Dead Poet Society most likely review movie, and then the week following we'll do Succession episodes 1 through 5 hopefully. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Tip of the cap, and remember my tip: if you need to just go somewhere, just barge in. Robert Woodward and Carl Bernstein did it, so you guys can do it as proof of this movie. Have a good one.